Hello, everybody. So this is the Art of Web3 panel. So we're talking about Web3. Web2, okay, to begin, Web2. Web2 is predictable. It's a centralized model. Web2 being renowned for siloing and extracting value from users and partners. Web2 is a zero-sum game where the advantage for network participants gets squeezed and entrepreneurial innovation becomes strained. Web3, on the other hand, adds value, particularly in the blockchain sector, where decentralized models develop ecosystems of alignment, incentive alignments, where users and partners are incentivized. Web3 is a win-win game, where network adoption is an advantage for participants. It's therefore no wonder in the Web3 space is seeing an impressive rate of adoption from Web2 incumbents, Microsoft, Google. In the payment world, MasterCard and Visa are making major inroads. Web3 is driving innovation in finance, gaming, social media, and governance. My name's John Chamberlain. I'm a community and marketing lead for the A-Starter project. A-Starter is a DeFi infrastructure hub building on Cardano. We chose Cardano because Cardano, being decentralized and has very good incentive alignment for users and network participants, with verifiable smart contract programming language, provides an ideal platform for building decentralized applications. Working in the DeFi category of Web3, we saw Cardano as a perfect match for what we're looking to build those alignments for users and community and network participants alike. On this panel, we will hear from the entrepreneurs and innovators building Web3 decentralized applications, leveraging Cardano verifiable smart contracts, enabling a wide range of Web3 decentralized applications. Joining us here today, let's welcome the panel. We have Lloyd from Drip Drops, Mikkel from Profilia, and Michael from Jam on Bread. Guys, I'm going to ask you each in turn to give us a brief introduction, okay? And bear in mind this question: how would you categorize your projects in the Web3 space? For example, A-Starter is a DeFi infrastructure hub, so we would categorize ourselves in the DeFi category. Web3 is broad. There is metaverse, there is data analytics, there is identity, there is gaming, many aspects. Is a broad area. I'm going to start that question with you, Lloyd. Give a brief introduction and bear that question in mind.
Thanks,
why
John.
Web3?
Absolutely. Thanks, John. So hi, I'm Lloyd Duhan. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Drip Drops. Drip Drops is the token delivery platform that absolutely runs Cardano's reward layer. If you have a token that you want to provide to your end users, Cardano has a min UTXO, which means that ADA has to travel with the token. So we allow the end users to provide their min UTXO so that the tokens that they want from the projects that they desire go right to their wallets. And for the projects, it protects them, and we secure the tokens until they get to the end customer. And so how do we define ourselves? I'd say we're infrastructure.
Very good. DeFi infrastructure in the form of Drip Drops, building communities within communities. I got the same question for Mikkel. Mikkel, you're a co-founder and general counsel for Profilia. Bear that question in mind. Please give us a brief introduction for the audience. What is your project building? Where would you categorize yourself? And why Web3?
So yeah, my name is Michiel van Rooij. I'm an intellectual property and technology lawyer, and I'm the co-founder of Profilia, which is a Swiss company that is trying to revolutionize data ownership and fix surveillance marketing, which happens on the internet today. So we really try to give people back ownership of their data and how it is being used by brands. And so we've been going at it since 2018, collaborating with the European Center of Nuclear Research and with a lot of Swiss universities around what is this digital problem on the internet today. And so the problem is actually there's no digital privacy. Every interaction you do on the internet, every web page that you visit, all of your personal data is being collected and recorded for the sole purpose of trying to market to you. And so it's a very one-directional situation where you're the target. Brands collect your information and they just bombard you with information at the frequency that they decide and via the channels that they decide. And so it was clear from our research that people don't like this. People start to get more that this is the problem, but there's not really a tool to do something about it. Today you have you can do email opt-out or you can install an ad blocker, but it's pretty much zero or nothing. That means you get nothing or you get a lot of ads. And so that's what became the basis of our, let's say, data relationship and decentralized consent-based marketing platform, which we tested in Switzerland with about 100 customers and 5 brands in 2020, trying to validate our assumptions, whether people would want to build up their data, maintain their personal information, and then in the next stage share it with brands in exchange for actual value and a better customer relationship, where they would be in control. And so very positive feedback from customers and brands. But at this point, this was just trying to find product market fit, trying to play on this usability, just showing the front end. And we knew, of course, with the Cambridge Analytica scandals, that if you're an intermediary in a large data platform, you're not to be trusted with governance. At least the ones that we have today in the market are not to be trusted with the governance of the data. So we knew that we had to do something about that. And so the core technologies at that point that were missing were, okay, how do you store data in a tamper-proof way? How do you ensure trustless transactions between a brand and an individual? How do you prove an individual's identity, that it's just this specific person watching an ad? And then how do you enforce an individual's decisions in the app? For example, if you exercise a data subject rights and you say to a brand, stop following me or stop sending me content, how do we make sure that a brand actually follows up on that? And so for us at that point it was clear, okay, this is Web3 technology. Web3 technology can help us with that. And then we were brought into contact with Dr. Michela Urieru, at that point strategic initiatives lead at Cardano, and she introduced it to Cardano and to Project Catalyst. And now 2 years later and 10 funded Catalyst projects, we're very happy building on Cardano. And where do we position ourselves? We're a decentralized data and marketing platform. We're not building a lot of the technology, we're integrating Atala Prism, Cardano smart contracts, and then now we're definitely looking at Midnight for obvious reasons as a privacy-preserving blockchain.
Fantastic. So it really does sum up what we were talking about at the very beginning during that introduction. You're moving from the Web 2, the zero-sum game, into the Web 3, where your network participants and incentives are aligned to create a solution to that Web 2 problem.
Correct, yeah.
Fantastic. So same question, Michael. Michael, Jam on Bread. We all know what Jam on Bread is, but what is Jam on Bread, the project building Web3 in the Cardano ecosystem? Michael, enlighten us, and bear in mind that question, how would you categorize your project within the Web3 space?
Cool, thank you. I'm not sure if everybody knows what Jam on Bread is, apart from Tasty Snack. But yeah, we are an NFT marketplace, which means like we work for the secondary NFTs that were already minted, and we provide the infrastructure for P2P exchange. So people can filter their NFTs and find exactly what they want to buy. They can categorize whether it's art or whether it's PFP, whatnot. So it's just a platform for the secondary trade of NFTs. I would maybe go back with my own introduction and why Web3. I would maybe start with that. So in the past, I was into e-commerce. I had a few projects when I was in my early 20s. They were not overly successful. Then I somehow, life has a weird way of driving you into places you would never expect yourself. So somehow I ended up in China as a teacher, very random. Later I ran my own private English training center for 6 years, which now looking back was probably too long. And but while I was there in Asia, I got to discover the nature of blockchain. So I was doing some research and I started investing in 2017. And then, of course, with all the roller coaster going down in 2018, I learned a lot of lessons. And because I lost some money, I decided to do more and more research. And that was actually a great thing. I'm now grateful that I lost money and I had to do my research, because the more research I've done, the more I realized that the decentralized and the permissionless nature of blockchain is actually what we probably need more and more. And now with time, it kind of proves itself. So I think we need more power to the people through decentralization from the corporates. And we need more permissionless access to people to actually get into the DeFi, NFT, financial hub, those people who otherwise would not have had a chance. So back then, I thought, okay, my school, now it's offline school, you can do online classes, but it doesn't really have the global impact. Like, you can't really reach out to the global audience. But the blockchain allows that. That's designed for it. So that's why even back then in 2018, I decided one day I would definitely like to work in Web3 space, or anything that has to do with blockchain. And then I found out about Jamon Bread, and we met with the investors. We acquired Jamon Bread, and I thought, okay, this is it. We are allowing people to exchange tokenized items, because the NFTs are not just pictures, right? They are not just JPEGs. They are much more than that. Even though the last bull run didn't prove this statement, but we hope that this is going to show more and more. So for me, this was the motivation to join the Web3 space, to promote the decentralization and the permissionless infrastructure.
Fantastic. So NFT tied to real world assets,
Yeah.
a very exciting project. NFTs bring a lot of utility into space, and when we're talking about Web3 and incentive alignment for that win-win game that we were talking about there, NFTs can provide a lot of that, okay, bringing utility to network participants, partners alike. A-Starter, we have an NFT series that was conceptualized by the project team. One, we wanted to have a mascot for the project, but two, we could recognize the need for utilities. So as a DeFi project, we have DAO governance, we have incentive alignments for ambassadors and so on. And state pool operators that are the infrastructure of the Cardano network. So we've developed an NFT series to provide a solution to that, and it works very well. And I have some cards that I'll leave on the stage for you guys that are listening if you want to get those, get access to those NFTs. You can find out more about A-Starter from that. I'm going to move on to the next question. Lloyd, we're going to talk about best practices. Based on your experience, what main three aspects would you have in mind for anyone who wants to start a project or a business in the Web3 space? And by aspects, I mean product building, community building, revenue streams, management, partnerships, legal side, gamification, open sourcing, etc., etc. Lloyd.
All right, thanks, John. So obviously that's a huge question, right? But to come up with the top three, it's one of the adages I like to say it's community, community, and community, right? The community has to come first, is what I mean by that. You have to take the aspects of engagement, the aspects of community listening, which is a very important one. If you aren't listening to your community first, you're not getting the answers that you need to build your product. So you can't productize unless you've listened to your customer, your potential customer, who is your community. And so, because the things that you need that come through engagement with the community, you will bubble up. And so that's the first thing and the most important thing. Beyond that, I'm going to say regulatory concerns. Because of the space we're in, this is not something that you can just jump in and build it just because you can. Yes, the tech exists. We can build whatever we want, but we do interface with the real world that is out there, that is extant, that has already been here. They have rules. We actually do have obligations to follow those rules and to attempt to change them over time. But you can't change them over time if you don't follow them first and prove and point out where it doesn't work. So that'll be the second one that I think is important. And then the third one is leadership, and it's leadership by example. Instead of what we have in the Web 2 space, which looks like top-down dictatorial leadership, where they give you what the scraps that they want to give you and nothing more, right? It started out great. You take a Facebook and everything was golden. You had your friends, you could reach them easily, and you could, as a business owner, you could advertise and simply get access to these great audiences. And then slowly over time, it's been pulled away. It's been taken away bit by bit by bit until what's left is you're practically enslaved to a platform that you hate. And we've got to avoid that in Web3. And so leadership is the way we avoid that. We actually make the right decisions now as we build the products and build the platforms, because those decisions will enable our community to continue whether or not we continue in the organization. So, I'll throw it in. George Washington, U.S. president, first U.S. president, he decided 2 terms, and that was it. He was out, and he'd leave it to other people to lead the country. That is the kind of thing that we have to get back to. We have to not only provide this leadership, but then know when the right time is to step back and let others take it on.
Absolutely, and another great example there of some of the problems with Web 2, the analogy there, the Facebook scenario, and Mikhail, you mentioned this with data analytics, right? Cambridge Analytica, right? So Facebook, they became so big, they no longer needed to care about their partners, their users, and all those incentives. Originally, there was the alignment to create friends, etc., as you explained, goes out the window. With Web 2, we need to be mindful of this and build ecosystems that maintain their alignment. And this comes through decentralization, incentivizing network participants and partners. Fantastic answer. Thank you very much, Lloyd. Mikhail, same question for you, if I may.
Yeah, so what 3 elements are important for a project building on Web3? So for me, that's legal and regulatory. The second one is finding a real business use case or a real use case that connects to the world. And then the third one would be understanding technology. And so I'll go in that a little bit in more detail. First, it's of course logical that the lawyer in the room will say that legal is important, but objectively I find that legal is very important. In Web3, so of course you have a couple of Web3 specific laws, a handful. In Europe you have now recently the MiCA, or Marketing Crypto Assets Directive. But there's a lot of old legislation, or call it current existing legislation, that also applies to stakeholders in the industry, be it wallet providers or exchanges or token issuers. And it's very important to understand that these things also apply to you. So if you're, let's say, organizing a token sale in Europe, you have to understand MiFID, or marketing financial instruments, to see if you have potential prospectus requirements. You have to understand taxation, accounting, and it's often not very clear how old legislation that wasn't really foreseen to apply to Web3 applies to Web3. So definitely understand in which regulatory space you're sitting. We can help you a little bit with that at Profile. We collected a database of about 1,000 Web3 laws and legal documents, which was a Fund 9 proposal under Catalyst, and you can find it in our project closeout report. And there you can just check, okay, I'm an NFT platform, or I'm an exchange in Europe, and then it filters down whatever legislation we already collected. It's not exhaustive, but it's still useful. Then the second one is finding a real business use case. So we as Profiler, we don't, even though we like the tech community and the Cardano community, we really want to build an application for normal people on the internet. That's 1 billion people at least. And so we're going after real brands and trying to convince Roche and trying to convince Walmart to stop doing surveillance marketing and customer communication in a bad way and invite their real people. But going to such players with the words blockchain and crypto is very difficult, because some run away, some think that it's illegal, some just don't like it. So you really have to focus on what is the added advantage of that Web3 component inside of your platform, so that they understand why it is there and not just because of the buzzword. And then maybe the third one is understanding technology. And so what I mean with understanding technology, it's both understanding the development stage of Web3 technology that is out there, and having somebody inside of your organization who understands it and who can implement it. And so those are 2 points that we've been struggling with already, because which has delayed our product roadmap from time to time. Because sometimes we think that a certain Web3 technology can do something, but then it's not yet there. So we'll have to wait for a next version. And then there's not that many people who are senior or developers already on each of these technologies. So in that way, to really try to figure out whether you need all of that technology, focus on the real use case, and so that would be my three main key points.
Yeah, fantastic answer, and a lot summarized there. I think working backwards, A-Starter as a DeFi infrastructure hub, we set about to help projects build on Cardano. The focus is to help startups to facilitate those projects coming into the ecosystem. So we have a set of tech tools that can help those. A good example of that is one-click token issuance, and of course we immediately get into regulatory type of areas once we start developing these sort of tools. I think coming back to that, as we look at the crossover between the traditional Web 2 type regulations and Web 3, we're seeing jurisdictions, Hong Kong for example, putting out the paper to a framework for people building Web 3. So it's good to see that sort of thing in these types of jurisdictions. So yeah, look out for more on that. Michael, I'm going to come to you again, same question on those aspects for anyone looking out to start in this space. What would you have people bear in mind?
Right. So I would mention two aspects very shortly, and then third one a bit lengthier. So first aspect, I would say make sure your team is right. Your team, developers, marketing team is just as strong as its weakest member. So make sure you do the right onboarding, you do the right hiring, and you look after your team members, because they are the ones who build for you. You yourself would not be able to build anything. You need people for that. So treat them well. Number two would be try to come up with more than one revenue streams. Crypto is very volatile, and I've experienced this even in Web 2 and in my previous businesses. It's very dangerous to bet everything on only one horse. So if your business has only one revenue stream, you're running a huge risk that your plans that you are, your investments and business loans that are due in next 5, 10, 15 years, you may not be able to pay them back with only one revenue stream. So be very aware of that and try to build multiple revenue streams in your business. And for yourself as well, you will feel much safer in your life. And then the third one, I would say bring something to the Cardano table. It's not only to take, but also to give something back. What do I mean? We are here not necessarily to battle with each other and prove ourselves in Cardano space. We are here to prove ourselves to the world and to other blockchains. So whatever you build, try to build it open source, help each other. Just like here during the conference, we are talking to each other, we are trying to find a way how to cooperate better and how to prove that Cardano has the capacity to be the leading blockchain in the world. How did we come to this conclusion? When we acquired Gemon Bread last summer, we started building our front-end features, our back-end, smart contract audits, and then we thought, okay, now we have to push users to migrate onto our smart contract, and all this process is very long and grueling and expensive. And I was just comparing what was it like to start an e-commerce project 10 years ago. Like, it wouldn't take you 6 to 12 months, and it wouldn't take you hundreds of thousands of dollars to start. But it does take this much money and time to start an NFT marketplace. And it probably is, something's wrong, because if onboarding process is this long and grueling, then the adoption is probably not going to take place. So what we did, we kind of, as we were building our smart contract, we kind of pivoted in the middle, and we thought, okay, so if there are multiple marketplaces and we all have our small part, a fraction of the trading volume, then the market is going to be two fractions, and it's going to be very difficult to get put the traffic together. If there is only one dominant player like there is now, then that's going to be a problem, because people are reliant on only one player. Monopoly is never good for the space. Nothing against our competitor, but like, it's definitely not beneficial for Cardano and for other blockchains to see that there is only one dominant player. So what we did, as I said, we pivoted and we thought, okay, let's do our smart contract in a way that anybody can make revenue on. I'll give you an example. Imagine that each of you has an NFT marketplace. So let's say a person lists their NFT onto our smart contract, but through your front end, you initiate the sale. then we share the revenue 50-50%. Let's say that Michel has another marketplace and some user lists an NFT through your front end onto our smart contract, and let's say another user buys this NFT through John's marketplace. Then you guys share the revenues from the smart contract, not us. And I think that's how it should be. You should decentralize the liquidity and the traffic. And we wanted to provide a tool for other marketplaces, either the current ones or new ones, to onboard the space much easier and without the $100,000 and 6 months to 12 months of development costs. So that was our philosophy, kind of open up the space and try to drag users from other blockchains or non-blockchain users. And if we don't have the tools, if we don't have the SDKs in place, this is not going to happen. So bring something back to the Cardano table, think about open sourcing your products, teach people how to use those products for free, give them the tools so that they can actually, build on them, but don't try to just, play your little game in your field. Like, we are here to build together, and only together we can make the adoption process, we can see it in a pace that we actually reach, I don't know, whatever adoption we desire in next 10 years.
Fantastic. We're going to move on to the closing thoughts now. And just to summarize, I think, Michael, Jamon Bread, you raised some great questions there, some great points in answering that. In terms of decentralized projects, Web3 space, the development process, there's more participants involved because you're trying to include as much of the community, as much as your partners in that decision-making process, and this can add to the time, development time, as well as we're dealing with new innovation, new products, many very experimental. Web2 doesn't have those overheads. Web2, you've got one decision maker, you've got teams that are making decisions and can finalize and can move very quickly. Web3 space, slightly different. We're trying to include everybody in the organization. And I know, Lloyd, you've done a lot of work in terms of mechanisms for governance in the Web3 space, which is a very important part. And Cardano kind of leading in this area of decentralized governance. So closing thoughts, Michael. Sorry, Lloyd.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts.
Sure. So in this moment, we have opportunity. We have the capability of making decisions together that are going to avoid having a repeat of Web 2.
Right.
We have that opportunity. So how do we take that opportunity, and how do we work together to do it? And governance and participation in governance is exactly how we do it. So I would say joining Intersect, I would say taking and participating in the SIP 1694 process that's still ongoing. We have to create the Constitution. Participating in these things is the way to put your signature on whether or not Web 3 has the opportunity to do better than Web 2 did. And just as a final thought, because of Drip Drops, what we've done, we're a token delivery service, and we've gotten very good at that. And now that we've gotten good at that, we are now moving on to money delivery through a regulated entity called Main Street. That the crowdfund is currently open. That if anyone would like information on that, they're welcome to meet me and spend some time talking with me about that. And that's the opportunity from our team to generate the next part of this journey into decentralized Web3 finance.
Drip Drops and Main Street.
Main Street.
Okay, so do hook up with Lloyd after this event if you would like to hear more about that exciting development. Profilia, Mikhail,
Closing
give us your
thoughts.
closing thoughts.
So maybe just recap. I think everybody realizes that the way that the internet functions today, and especially digital marketing and data sharing, is just unethical and is incorrect. We really don't see any reason why you should give up your personal information if you want to have this experience. And if you check it compared to the physical world, you go to a store, you fit a T-shirt, you walk out, nobody knows you. You go to a dealer shop for a car, you speak to them about what you like about a car, you walk out, they don't know you. You do the same on the internet, they know which websites you were visited before, they know the IP address of your wife that was sleeping next to you, they link that to data sources. It's just completely unacceptable the way this works now. And I think what we are trying to build is an internet that is based on personal sovereignty, on the real accountability, and on a different incentive structure. And that's exactly where Web3 has this opportunity. In Cardano's technology, smart contracts, self-sovereign identity, or via Tala Prism, and especially also now at midnight, gives this opportunity at this specific time to build a better version of the internet, where people are really in control. So next phase for us is test it with as many people as possible and try to convince normal brands, normal people to test it out. And so not only the tech-savvy Cardano followers, even though we would like you to test it out as well. It's in 1 month we'll organize a test run, so feel free to register on our website.
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is Profilia?
Profiler.com, yeah.
Profiler.com. Okay, great. So summarize that. I think we can draw comparisons between self-custody. There's responsibility with self-custody as opposed to custodial services. We've got equal responsibility with our data. We'd start taking self-custody of our own data and ownership of our own data. Profilia is providing solutions to this.
Thank you.
And finally, Michael, out of your NFT platform, closing thoughts, jam on bread, everybody.
All right, I will give, again, I see we got 3.5 minutes, so I'll give a short personal story about mistakes. And I will try to link to that in my final thoughts. So I think it was year 2011, and I was attending a Bitcoin conference with my friend. And after an hour-and-a-half long presentation and how the cryptography works and what is Bitcoin good for, I remember me and my friend had this conversation. We looked each other in the eye, and he asked me, so Michael, should we invest? Should we buy 2, 3, 4, 5 Bitcoins just for fun? Back then, Bitcoin was $10 each. So, and I remember it came from my mouth, and I regret it so much now that I said, no, I think my money is going to be better spent on beers tonight. Let's go. So it was a mistake, but I think it's okay to make mistakes. And I think whoever is not making any mistakes means he's probably not really working hard enough and not trying to build enough and not pushing the limits. So I think whoever is building in the space or is thinking to build it in the Web3 space, don't be afraid that it's going to be difficult, that you are going to make a mistake or fail. It's part of the process. You should embrace it rather than be afraid of it. So go with that. Just one final thought: try to not make the same mistake twice. Charles yesterday thought about the, let's say, mistake or trouble that Microsoft and Apple had between each other. Had Microsoft invested into Apple and initiated some sort of collaboration, both companies would have probably grown better, and it would be better for the internet space back then. So I think that's the whole idea. We've seen those mistakes in Web2 in the past, so let's learn from them. Let's be better than that.
Absolutely, and it's great to see that companies, incumbents such as Microsoft, are building in the Web3 space. I was at a Web3 event in London. It was held at the Microsoft center there. And one of the guys, he was employed directly by Bill Gates, something like the 21st employee at Microsoft. And it's great. He's became Chief Acquisitions Officer there, building now a Web3 metaverse. So it's great to see. And one of the I think, closing thoughts there that he gave during his presentation was the industry's waiting for Apple to make a move into Web3. So I think with that in mind, do check out A-Starter. Go to astarter.io. I'm going to leave some NFT cards here, the scratch cards that we made for the community to incentivize you guys, and you can follow the links on there. I'll put them on there as a stage. Thank you to the whole panel. It's been a great event. Michael, Profilia, Lloyd, Drip Drops, and Michael from Jam on Bread. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much,
everyone.
John.